Could recreational marijuana be legalized in Wisconsin in the near future? Democratic lawmakers introduced a bill in Madison today with that goal, but it could face opposition from Republicans who control both the Assembly and the state Senate. We hear from both sides as this debate just begins. Well, there's already a bill to legalize medical marijuana being debated in Madison. Democratic lawmakers now seeking to pass a bill of their own. They hope will have bipartisan support, allowing for responsible recreational use among adults.
40 states in Washington, D.C. have legalized cannabis in some form. And here in the Midwest, Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota, and others have all legalized cannabis for adult use. But Wisconsin hasn't.
The bill would also create a regulated medical cannabis system, generate new state and local revenue, and provide a pathway to expunge or adjust past marijuana-related convictions. Republican Dean Coffert supports legalizing medical marijuana, but believes other provisions in the bill, especially those dealing with past convictions, go a bit far.
I'm open to talking to them. I'm open to working with them. But the reality is there's only three weeks left of the session. I think, hopefully we can pass the medical marijuana bill. That's a start. We'll see, get it going.
The legislation is also being requested by hemp farmers who have been producing hemp to create and distribute products with low amounts of THC, thanks to a 2018 loophole in the federal farm bill meant to encourage the practice. However, this changed back in November when Congress eliminated that provision. A state law, they say, would clarify their rights.
In mid-November, Congress passed a continuing resolution that is enacted next year, would wipe out large portions of Wisconsin hemp industry overnight, not because farmers did anything wrong, but because the rules changed yet again.
Democratic Representative Ahmad Rivera-Wagner also supporting the bill, saying, quote, "When we talk to school boards and homeowners, the message is consistent. Costs are rising faster than families can keep up. Legal cannabis revenue is not a silver bullet, but it is a responsible tool that can help stabilize school funding and ease pressure on property taxes," end quote. If it passes, marijuana would be legal for anyone over 21, and anyone over 18 could participate in the medical marijuana registry.